Hi. Hello? I think I'm on. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this, our second annual Herstory Day. My name is Whitney Donhauser, and I'm the Ronay Menschel Director and President here. So for those of you who are not familiar, the Museum of the City of New York celebrates and interprets New York City. We educate the public about New York's distinctive and amazing character, especially the history of diversity, opportunity, and perpetual transformation. So our Schwartz Center serves 50,000 children and adults each year. And we have a whole array of field trips, professional learning for teachers, and time-out school programs. So, and including today's free intergenerational program, Celebrating Women. So a special thank you to all of our generous funders listed on the program supporting today's program and the center in general. So in particular, the Puffin Foundation, Under Armour for providing copies of Misty Copeland's book, and the Thompson Family Foundation. So this year's Herstory Day is developed in conjunction with an exhibition that we have on view on the second floor called Beyond Suffrage, A Century of New York Women in Politics. And it features a diverse range of women, activists both familiar and lesser known, and the battles that they fought and many of the issues that they championed. So I hope all of you will have a chance to go upstairs and see this exhibition. We're using that as a backdrop to develop a whole day's worth of activities on activism, art practices. We're doing a tote bag decoration, a strategic tea party, community resource fair, and a scavenger hunt. So, but first, I'm so excited to announce and welcome today's speakers, Rashma Saujani, founder and CEO of Girls Who Code, and of course, Misty Copeland, American Theater principal dancer, who will be interviewed by Sumera Choi. So I'm thrilled and so pleased to be able to have these incredible and impressive women to share their stories. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Rashma Saujani, who is the founder and CEO of Girls Who Code, a national nonprofit organization working to close the gender gap in technology and change the image of what a programmer looks like and does. So with their 7-week summer immersion program, 2-week specialized campus program, and after-school clubs, and a 13-book New York Times best-selling series, they are leading the movement to inspire, educate, and equip young women with the computing skills to pursue in the 21st century. So by the end of 2018's academic school year, Girls Who Code will have reached over 50,000 girls in all 50 states and several of the U.S. territories. So that's amazing. Rashma began her career as an attorney and activist. She's a graduate of University of Illinois, Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and Yale Law School, so she's impressive herself. In 2010, she surged onto the political scene as the first Indian American woman to run for U.S. Congress. And during that race, Rashma visited local schools and saw the gender gap in computing classes really firsthand, which led her to start Girls Who Code. So she lives in New York City with her husband and their son and their bulldog Stanley. I'm not sure she's going to be talking about that today, so I'm going to bring her onto stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here today and to be here with Misty, who I'm a huge fangirl of. But I love Women's History Month. Love Women's History Month. Because this is the month that we get to celebrate amazing women. And when I think about all the women that I love and admire, there's one thing that they all have in common. They're incredibly brave. And when I was thinking about coming here today, I was thinking about, like, how did I actually learn how to be brave? And I think I learned how to be brave from my parents. My mom and dad are actually here with me today. And one of the most remarkable things that my parents taught me is about courage. So my family came here as refugees. Do you guys know what refugees are? Yeah? So they were living in a country called Uganda for generations of their family. And one day they were expelled. And they were fortunate because they were 2 of 1,000 refugees who got status to come to this country. And so my parents came here and built a life for themselves. And every night, no matter how tired my father was, he would sit me on his lap and he'd read to me about amazing people like Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. King, Eleanor Roosevelt. So from the time I was your age, 10, 11 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a change maker. I wanted to make a difference in this world. And I thought that the way that I would do that was through public service. Because as my father read to me about these amazing, amazing people who were making a difference, the one thing that I saw that was in common about all of them is that they knew how to use their voice. They had courage. They had courage to speak out and talk about injustices or people who were vulnerable. And I wanted to be just like them. But I found out when I was 30 years old, which is a long time from now from some of you, that I wasn't doing that. I was working in a job that I didn't like all that much. And I was sitting there one day listening to this incredible woman, Hillary Clinton, give her concession speech the first time she ran for president. And she had this line in her speech where she said, you know, just because I failed doesn't mean you shouldn't try to. And I literally felt like she was speaking to me. So at age 33, I decided to run for United States Congress. Does anyone know what the average age of a congressperson is? Okay, it's like 69. Yes, 69 years old. So when I ran at 33, it was kind of a brave thing to do. So I ran this race. I thought for sure I was going to win, and I lost miserably. I was heartbroken. Yes. But one of the things that happens from failure, which you'll learn, is that even though something happens that you didn't want to happen, it sometimes opened doors to things that you couldn't have even imagined. And one of the things that it opened a door for was for me starting my organization, Girls Who Code. So when you run for office, which I hope every single young woman in this room does one day, you end up going into a lot of schools. And I would go into schools in New York City, and I'd go into computer science classes or robotics classes, and I would see a ton of boys. And I didn't see any girls. And I thought to myself, where are the girls? And when I started Girls Who Code, I wanted to answer that question because it didn't make sense to me. All of us, I see some girls with their phones taking photos. It's okay. All of us, we like our phones, right? We love Instagram or Snapchat, or there might be games that we come home. My 3-year-old is in there right now watching Netflix. You know, I hope that he's instead playing bedtime math, but that's another conversation, right? But technology is a part of everything that we do. But the thing that bothered me is when I looked at the people that were the CEOs of the apps that were mostly used by girls, they were all men. And that didn't make sense to me. You know, I think a lot about why do we have, right now, I'm sure some of you have computer science in your school. But if you go to any computer science class in the country, less than 1 out of 5 students in that classroom will be girls. When I think about culture, how many of you guys have watched Hidden Figures? Raise your hand. Awesome. So you all know who Katherine Johnson is, right? And how amazing she is. Did you guys know that the world's first programmer was a woman? Yeah? Good. Here's the deal. Women rule the world. Beyonce said it, and it is exactly true, right? We rule the world. But sometimes when we look at culture, so when we turn on the television or we open up a magazine and we see a computer scientist, do we think a computer scientist is a boy or a girl? A boy. That's a problem because they're not. A lot of computer scientists, they're Katherine Johnson. They're Ada Lovelace. They're the ENIAC women. There are dozens and hundreds of women you have never heard about, but who have created this world. And we need to celebrate them. And you guys need to know that You know, you cannot be what you cannot see. And if you don't see yourselves in technology, girls are going to be left behind. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen. The other thing that I think a lot about is bravery. You know, from the time that you're little girls, I tease my friend Mother who's here about her daughter Annika, but from the time we're little, right? We're taught to straighten our dress, fix our bow. If something spills on us, we immediately run to the diaper bag and we clean it up. But when I think about my 3-year-old son, he is a mess. I call him my little pig pun because he generally has like a booger in his nose, right? This morning's breakfast, I haven't combed his hair, but he's free. He's free to be whoever he will be. And this is what I wish for all of you girls, right? It's okay to fail. It's okay to get rejected. It's okay to not be perfect. And if we can create a world where we teach our girls that imperfection is something that should be celebrated, and if we teach you how to be brave and not perfect, I believe that we will create an entire generation of Katherine Johnsons, women who are so bold and who are so powerful, who believe that they can be everything and anything. And that's what Girls Who Code is about. Here's the thing. I want each and every one of you to be innovators, to be creators, to design, to create, to build. I want you to build the next Facebook, the next Instagram, the next Snapchat. I want you to find a cure to cancer. And I promise you that you will. Each of you have to learn how to code. And at Girls Who Code, we probably have a Girls Who Code club at your school. If we don't have one, let's start one. And I want to tell you really quickly before I end why it's so important and why I believe that girls can be everything. I had a 16-year-old student whose father was diagnosed with cancer when she was 5 years old. And she decided at that moment that she wanted to be a doctor because she wanted to save her father's life. And it wasn't until Girls Who Code that she saw the connection between medicine and coding. And she built an algorithm to help detect whether a cancer is benign or malignant. 16 years old. I had 2 girls that lived in New Jersey. And one day they snuck into their parents' basement and they started watching CNN. And they saw that little kids in Flint, Michigan were getting sick because they were drinking the water. So these 2 middle school girls started building a website to educate people about lead poisoning. Lucy and Maya, middle school, 12 years old, change makers. I had a girl, Trisha Prabhu, that lives in Naperville, Illinois. Every day she was bullied, every single day. And one day she read a story about a little girl that was being bullied from the time that she was 6 years old. And it hurt her. So she went into her bedroom and she started building an app. And the app was called Rethink. So every time you're about to send something that's not so nice, it asks you, are you sure you want to send this? So smart, so different. Trisha Prabhu, 17 years old, won Shark Tank, $100,000. So I see girls all the time, everywhere, that are tackling big problems, small problems, that are making a difference in their community. And it doesn't matter how young you are. You just have to have a passion and a desire to make a difference. And you have to know that you got to learn how to code. That technology is a part of everything that you do. And so my hope for you is, of course, that you learn how to code, but you also learn how to be brave. You know, today you're going to hear from somebody who I think is incredibly brave, Misty Copeland. You know, it takes guts to do something that's never been done before, to be the first, especially when you're surrounded by people who tell you that you can't do that. And Misty probably heard that a lot, but she persevered and she was resilient. And I think so much about her passion. I just met her, but I think I can guess this because I feel like there's a sisterhood amongst us. So much of her passion, her resilience, her strength, her courage comes not just from her wanting to achieve her dreams, but for her wanting you to achieve your dreams. For you to see her struggles, her pains, her triumphants. So one day that you can imagine and know that anything and everything is possible for you. So today, after you hear from Misty, I want each of you to go home this week, and I want you to do something brave. And I want the parents in the room to hold every one of these girls accountable for doing something brave. I want you to do something new. I want you to do something that you think that you could never do before. If that's coding, even better. But if it's not, I promise you that when you do something new, when you do something that you cannot do, it will lead you on a journey and a life of joy and success. So thank you.
I'm so moved. I'm feeling emotional. Thank you so much, Rashma, for those amazing. Can we please have another round of applause? So good morning, everyone. My name is Franny Kent. I'm the Vice President for Education here at the Museum of the City of New York. And before I do anything else, sometimes the voice that's hidden because she's running around doing all the amazing things it takes to plan this event, she's not seen. Laura Berth Lima is the education coordinator here at the museum who organized this, and she's right here. Please wave. She planned this special day celebrating the positive contributions of women and girls on our city. And I'm personally very inspired looking at this intergenerational audience in front of me who came to learn from one another today during this educational event. And it's really my pleasure to introduce our next two guests. Samira Choi is 16 years old and quite phenomenal. She's a junior at LaGuardia High School and is interested in computer programming. Rashma, I hope you're hearing that back there. I'm sure you know it already. Yes, she said yes, she knows. Feminism and social justice. She enjoys working in museums as a Brooklyn Museum Senior Intersections Program member. And in her free time, she likes to write music, go thrifting, and cuddle with her cats. It's very meaningful to me, too. So today she'll be interviewing Misty Copeland. Born in Kansas City, Missouri, and raised in San Pedro, California, Misty began her ballet studies at the late age of 13. At 15, she won first place in the Music Center Spotlight Awards. She studied at the San Francisco Ballet School and American Ballet Theater's Summer Intensive on full scholarship and was declared ABT's National Coca-Cola Scholar in 2000. Misty joined ABT's studio company in September 2000, joined American Ballet Theater as a member of the Corps de Ballet in April 2001, and in August 2007 became the company's second African-American female soloist. In June 2015, Misty was promoted to principal dancer, making her the first African-American woman to ever be promoted to the position in the company's 75-year history. Misty is the author of the New York Times bestselling memoir, Life in Motion, which was co-written with award-winning journalist and author Sharice Jones, published in March 2014. She has a picture book titled Firebird in collaboration with award-winning illustrator and author Christopher Myers, published in 2014 as well. She received an honorary doctorate from the University of Hartford in November 2014 for her contributions to classical ballet and helping to diversify the art form. Misty's passion is giving back. We're so honored for her joining us today. She's worked with many charitable organizations and is dedicated to giving her time to work with and mentor young girls and boys. And in 2014, President Obama appointed Misty to the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. I really would love for you to help me give both Samira and Misty a very warm welcome as they join us on the stage.
It's so exciting to be here. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you for being here today and taking your time to share your experiences. I connect so much with your story and with you, and I think everyone here will too after this interview. So to start off, I was wondering how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in the midst of preparing for another tour through Asia, so just working hard, rehearsing a lot.
Did you eat a good breakfast?
Yes, I had some yogurt and fruit. I like to keep it light in the mornings.
Okay, so for our first question, I know that you were raised in California. Can you tell us a bit about your childhood and what it was like?
Yeah, so I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, but we left when I was 2 years old, and at the time I was one of 4 children, and we eventually grew to 6. And I was moving a lot as a child. I think I moved like 10 times, before the time I was like, I don't know, 10 or something. So it was a lot of chaos and moving. And at 13, I feel like I was very lost. I didn't really have anything that was my own, being one of 6 children, and for the most part being raised by a single parent, by my mother. And we were living in a motel at the point when I discovered ballet. But before that, there was nothing in my world that I connected to, and I was really shy. I just kind of hid, in between all of my siblings who had big personalities, and I was very comfortable being in that role. So it was very interesting that I stumbled into ballet and felt more comfortable on the stage than I did in my life at any point.
Okay. So as you mentioned, you started dancing at age 13. What was it like to start at such a late age with a lot of younger dancers?
I never really thought twice about it. I think also because I was so naive and I had no exposure to the ballet world at all. I wasn't really exposed to the arts in any way. So when I fell in love with it within a week at 13 years old, my teacher made it clear that this is a very late age, so you're going to have to decide right now if this is something you want to do as a career. And thinking back, I don't think I really understood the magnitude of making that commitment at 13 years old. But I went with it because it was the only thing I ever felt that gave me this sense of empowerment and strength, and it gave me a voice, and I never had that before. So I think it took maybe a couple of years. I went away to my first summer intensive in San Francisco with the San Francisco Ballet after only a year and a half of training, and I was put in the highest level, and I think it was the first time that I was surrounded by dancers of my age that were so far beyond me in terms of just their strength and technical ability. So I do understand that there's a reason that we start ballet at such a young age. It takes so long to get our bodies to make this incredible hard technique a part of our muscle memory and something that is second nature, so that when you become a professional, you're thinking about being an artist and growing in other ways. So I was okay with being in class with little kids. I didn't think anything of it. I was taking up to 3 ballet classes a day, and I would start out with 6-year-olds, and then I would, take every level. But I think because I loved it so much, I was never concerned or embarrassed about starting late.
Okay, thank you. So since you began dancing in the 1990s, that was a time of popular music and culture, such as hip-hop. How did music and the dance of that time influence you, if at all?
I love this question. I think music was such a big part of my life growing up. My mother just was always had music on in the house or in the car, and it definitely is what I think pushed me to want to move. Before I knew what ballet was, I was choreographing. I had just had this vision in my mind of what the movement would look like to certain music. And again, it was pop music and hip hop and R&B, and it definitely influenced, I think, the way that I approach ballet and the way that I hear music. And, I grew up listening to, I always say this and people are like, oh God, Mariah Carey. And, looking back, I mean, her music definitely inspired me. I choreographed so many numbers to her music. But I think seeing a biracial woman who was successful, I connected with her, and I don't think I understood at the time why I was drawn to her, and it just makes me understand even more, the strength and power of seeing someone who looks like you succeeding, and I think subconsciously that's what she did for me.
Okay. Did people associate you with that particular genre of music and dance? Were they ever surprised that you were interested in ballet? I don't know. So once I started dancing, I kind of became isolated from, the people that I grew up with or went to public school with. I ended up taking 2 years off and doing independent studies so that I could spend more time in the studio. I think it's actually now that I'm a classical dancer that people are so shocked that I don't have playlists with classical music, or that I'm not preparing for Swan Lake, listening to the music. I'm like, I put Drake on, right? Just something that I feel like I enjoy and I connect to. So I think more people are shocked as a ballerina that I like the music that I like. So what did you love most about dancing, or what do you love most about dancing?
Initially, again, when I say I didn't have a voice as a child, and we were talking back in the room before, and I'm just so impressed by you and your ability to have no, fears, to be able to do something that I think is not expected of someone at your age. But I was so shy that people thought I was mute. Like as a child, I didn't speak. It was there was just something that was holding me back. And when I stepped into the ballet studio for the first time, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was told by my teacher for the first time really ever that I was perfect for something, and that I was beautiful, and that my big feet and long legs and small head were the perfect things for a ballerina. And in the world, it was like I was a skinny, awkward, girl with these massive feet. And it gave me this sense of pride and purpose that I'd never experienced. And had I not been a part of ballet, I would not be the woman that I am today. I would not be able to get up and speak in front of thousands of people or perform the way I do. But it was just such an interesting thing when I stepped onto the stage. And in a theater for classical dance and for ballet, you can't see the audience. It's just black. It's dark. And there was something so comforting about that. And my family did not understand. They're like, how can you go up there and perform in front of all these people? And I was like, I can't see them. They can't touch me. They can't say anything to me. I feel so free.
Okay. Was your family supportive of your career? Especially because when you started your career, you were a teenager. Like, what were the challenges as pursuing dance and also dealing with being a teenager? So yeah.
My family's always been extremely supportive, but I also think that they had absolutely no idea what it was I was really doing. I think even to this day, they still don't really get it. Like they're like so impressed and surprised and happy when, like my brothers are like, oh my gosh, you're an Under Armour athlete with Stephen Curry, or, all of these things that's like they understand, but they've always been extremely supportive. And I think that my whole family sacrificed for me during that time of my training. We were living farther away from the ballet school, and we were living in a motel, and all of my siblings would take turns, taking the bus for however long it was to pick me up or make sure that I, got from school to the ballet studio. And so, yeah, everyone was just kind of on board, and I think that's just how we were raised. We were our own support system for each other, and we were just like this tight bond, had this tight bond, and it was just a part of what we did and our survival, moving around, and yeah.
That's amazing. So, besides your family supporting you, what other role models influenced you and gave you hope?
When I first stepped into the ballet world, I didn't really understand that there weren't really any black women a part of it. I just was doing what I loved and soaking up everything that I could in the short amount of time that I had. But once I became a professional dancer, that's when I looked around and I was like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to make it beyond the court of ballet? I'm the only black woman in this company of 80 dancers, and was for a decade or over a decade. So I feel like it wasn't until I was a professional that I really started to look for people that I could find support or just have a conversation with someone who understood what I was going through. And the dance community is so small, especially the black dance community. So I feel like I bonded with so many dancers. Alicia Graf Mack, I don't know if you guys know who she is. She was a principal dancer with the Dance Theater of Harlem and then with Alvin Ailey. And she was someone that I just could have conversations with, and it was like we just understood, what it was to be the only. But Raven Wilkinson, I would say, has been the most, influential in my career. She was a dancer with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, the only black woman to be in the company, and in the 1950s. And she ended up leaving the company because they were traveling through the South, and she was actually chased out by the KKK because they didn't think she should be staying in the same hotels as the other dancers. And but hearing her story after seeing this documentary, I was like, oh my gosh, like I have a bigger purpose than just being a ballerina. To see someone like her go through what she went through and still be so positive about her passion for ballet and not kind of look at it as this negative world that rejected her. And then finding out she lived a block from me. And now, we're very close, and she's just been someone that's given me this power to have a voice, to be able to represent so many black dancers that have come before me that weren't given an opportunity and didn't have a voice.
Okay. Speaking of influential black people, I heard that you met President Obama. That's very exciting. What was that like?
So yeah, I've met him many times now, but the first time I met him, I was in DC with the Boys and Girls Club, and it was the Youth of the Year competition that they do with the most amazing kids. And so with all of the final, I think 12, and me and Shaun White, who's also a former Boys and Girls Club member, we were going to the White House to meet the president and take photos. And so we were all standing outside of the Oval Office, and I was fine. I was just like, oh, this is so exciting, but I didn't really feel nervous. And then he opened the door, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just the power that, this energy that he has, and also being so down to earth. And he kind of broke the ice when he looked at Shaun White, and he said, you cut your hair, brother? And I was like, oh, okay, he's really cool. This is gonna be fine. But and he's just been so incredible, with bringing me into the Health and Fitness Council and just hearing my voice, and then having an opportunity to, I guess we kind of interviewed each other with Essence, and just to be able to sit there and hear the similarities that we have, and just as an American, he represents us, I think, so well, and being just this positive image, and the way he displays his love for his wife and for his daughters. It's just incredible that they're his equal, or he even thinks of them as higher than he is, and it's so important as a black man, in America, to see that representation.
And lastly, what advice would you give to any of the kids in the audience who have a big dream?
I would say, well, first and foremost, work hard. There's no way around that in succeeding. But I think that not to forget or lose that fire or passion. And if you don't have that for whatever it is you want to do, I think that you should find something else to do and not to feel like you have to do something because your parents are pushing you to. In the end, I think it's about your happiness, how you're going to grow and become a better person. I think it's also important to surround yourself with people who are going to be positive and encourage you and push you and also be honest with you. But I think it's just so important to have a support system around you.
Thank you. So does anyone have any questions in the audience?
Oh, do you?
Right there?
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 10-year-old self?
Very good question. I think that I would have told myself to be more patient with the process and the journey. I was just such a nervous person, and I wanted to be perfect all of the time. And I think looking back now, the most beautiful memories I have and what I've really learned from is just the process of failing and then learning from that. And just to enjoy the journey and to calm down and know that, everything's going to be okay. You're welcome.
So why did you choose ballet over any other type of dancing?
I always say ballet chose me. It's not something that I saw and then I said I want to do that. I was dancing in my middle school. I was the captain of the drill team. And at that point, I only knew what I saw in music videos. So that's what I wanted to do. Had I been exposed to other forms of dance, who knows? Maybe I would have been a tapper. Maybe like you. Maybe I would have been a modern dancer. But ballet was what was the first genre of dance that I ever was introduced to. But I don't know that I would have fallen in love with any other type of dance like I have ballet. There's just something that's so pure about it, and the woman is everything in ballet. And there's not a lot of careers and things like that where without her, ballet wouldn't exist.
Back there, right there.
And if you could say your name and your age, that would be so nice.
My name is Madison and I'm 9. What wanted you to start ballet in the first place?
Well, I think, again, it's just there's something that's so incredible about the connection that you get from your mind to your body to your soul. There's just so much beauty underneath the insanely difficult technique of what you learn from classical ballet. There's just something that I think awakens something in people's minds, and I think that's why it's so important for children to be exposed to the arts. I don't think that you can ever truly develop to your fullest potential without art in your life.
Okay. Right there.
My name is Leilani and I'm 5 years old. When you do something wrong, what do you do to make yourself feel better?
Again, as I was saying before, you learn so much from those mistakes or, things that happen that you don't think is the path that you wanted to take. And so I just feel like I've learned so much from, I don't know, I guess if you just break it down to like being on stage. And I think the best part of live theater and what I do is that mistakes are bound to happen. At some point you're going to fall. At some point you're going to just stand there and forget the steps, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But to me, I think that what makes it so incredible, or what's so difficult about it, is that the ability to think on your feet and recover, and it's what you do from there, from those mistakes. I've fallen on my face on stage, and when I do, it's like I feel so empowered to get up and prove, that I wasn't affected by it, and I want to put on my best performance instead of going the opposite direction of just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, because I think the audience feels even more awkward about it happening. But if you get up and you're like, I'm here and I'm going to do my best, then that's when they're like, okay, I'm here with you.
This will be the last question. Right there, the headband. Yeah.
My name is Zay and I'm 13. What would be your second career path? Like what?
Yeah, so actually we were talking about it in the back as well, that dancers have, I think, so many lives. They go on and have many careers, and for me, that's going to be the case, because we, retire at 40 at the latest, I would say. I'm definitely going to stay connected to dance and to ballet for the rest of my life, but or continue to write books and things like that. But I think if I had to choose another career, I would probably be a chef. We're expecting that, right? No, I love food. I love to eat it, but I also love to cook. Yeah, I've been cooking since I moved to New York City when I was 17, 18 years old, and it's been this amazing outlet for me that's so creative, but it's not as physical as what I do. So that's kind of what I do as a stress reliever.
Thank you so much, Misty.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Misty. All right, so just to let everybody know what's happening next, we are going to give the books away outside on your way out. A couple things will be happening. We're going to have a strategic tea party in here at 1 o'clock, and we're going to have tea sandwiches and iced tea, and we're going to plan for the future for gender equality. Right now, there's going to be a classroom down the hall that's going to open where you can design your own tote bag to take home with you. And we also have a scavenger hunt, which you can pick up right here outside of the auditorium. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Misty!